You know that feeling when you open your refrigerator door at 7 p.m., tired after a long day, and you just stare at the shelves, wondering why despite eating healthy, you still feel exhausted? Like something's missing? 6 years ago, I stood exactly where you are now. At 62, I was taking 4 medications, battling constant fatigue, and watching my reflection in the mirror become someone I barely recognized. That was until a small handwritten note from my Japanese grandmother changed everything. This note contained just 8 words in her careful handwriting. Eat until you're 80% full. Your body will thank you forever. Simple? Yes. Revolutionary? Absolutely. Because this wasn't just about eating less. It was about eating differently. A wisdom that's helped Japanese people live longer, healthier lives, while Americans our age struggle with medications and doctor visits. Look at these 2 plates. One represents what we've been taught about nutrition in America. Bigger portions, processed diet, foods that leave us hungrier than before. The other? This is what I discovered living with families in Okinawa. The secret to their legendary longevity that's now backed by Harvard research. Today isn't about another impossible diet. It's about returning to a way of eating that honors our aging bodies while still enjoying every delicious bite. In the next 30 minutes, I'm going to show you exactly how Mrs. Tanaka at 87 still hikes mountains without joint pain. How Robert from Chicago reversed his prediabetes without giving up his favorite foods. And most importantly, how to create your personalized Hara Hachi Bun Me plan that works with your medications, your schedule, and yes, even with your sweet tooth. You'll discover the 3 forgotten superfoods sitting right now in your local Walmart that Japanese centenarians eat daily. I'll show you my exact meal prep system that takes just 45 minutes on Sunday for an entire week of nourishing meals. And I'll reveal why timing your protein intake could be the missing piece for rebuilding muscle after 50 without expensive supplements. I know what you're thinking. Another complicated diet that works for perfect people but not for me. That's exactly what I believed too, until I met Dr. Yamamoto, who showed me how his patients over 80 were reversing chronic conditions, not with pills, but with plates. Today's approach is different because we're not fighting your body. We're finally listening to it. And the best part? You won't need exotic ingredients or hours in the kitchen. In fact, by the end of this video, you'll have a simple 3-step action plan using foods you already enjoy. Your body at this stage of life isn't broken. It's begging for a different kind of nourishment. The kind that doesn't leave you counting calories at midnight. The kind that gives you energy to play with your grandchildren. The kind that helps you wake up without that morning stiffness we've been told is just part aging. Today's not about living longer just to take more medications. It's about living fully, starting tomorrow morning at breakfast. Before we begin, I need to know, what's your biggest struggle with food and energy right now? Is it stubborn weight that won't budge? Constant fatigue no matter how much you sleep? Or maybe digestive issues that make enjoying meals with family stressful? Comment energy or digestion or JOY below, because in just 60 seconds, I'm going to share the exact morning ritual that transformed my own energy levels after decades of afternoon crashes. Ready to discover why Japanese women over 70 have stronger bones than American women in their 40s? Let's begin. You know, when my grandmother wrote those 8 words on that tiny piece of paper, I honestly thought she was just being frugal. Eat until you're 80% full. Simple advice from a woman who lived through war and scarcity. But what I didn't know then, and what modern science confirms now, is that this wasn't about scarcity at all. It was about abundance. Abundance of energy, of health, of years with your loved ones. Here's what happens in our bodies after 50 that nobody tells us about. That hungry feeling you get 3 p.m., The one that makes you reach for another cookie even though you ate lunch? It's not really hunger. It's a hormonal whisper from a system that's slowing down. While we were young, our bodies sent "I'm full" signals within minutes. But now, that message takes a leisurely 20-minute stroll through our digestive system before reaching our brain. By then, we've already overfilled our plates, and our bodies. In Okinawa, they call this wisdom Hara Hachi Bun Me. Eating until you're 80% full. Not hungry, not stuffed, just satisfied. And it's not some mystical Eastern concept. It's biology meeting mindfulness in the most practical way possible. 6 months ago, Dr. Reynolds of the University of California conducted a fascinating study with two groups of Americans in their 60s. Both groups ate identical nutritious foods, but one group practiced the 80% rule, while the other ate until completely full.
This recipe
The
has been
results
in my
after just
family
6
for
months,
over 100 years.
the 80%
My
group lost
grandmother
an
taught me
average
when I
of
was just a
14
small
pounds
girl.
without counting a single calorie. Their blood pressure dropped by 12 points. Their energy levels doubled according to sleep quality measurements. But here's what surprised researchers most. Their inflammation markers decreased by 38%, a direct path to reducing pain in joints and muscles. Now, how do you actually know when you're at 80%? Your grandmother probably never taught you this.
Yes,
Did
the
she?
air is wonderful.
Here's your new body language dictionary
Don't
after
fall
50.
behind, Robert.
When your hunger pangs disappear, but you can still eat more, that's 80%. When you take a breath between bites naturally, that's 80%. When the thought of saving some food for later feels peaceful, not frustrating, that's 80%. Let me show you my favorite trick I learned from Mrs. Shimizu, who's 89 and still gardens every morning. She uses what I call
color.
the grandmother's plate
Fresh
method.
from the garden this morning.
See this traditional bowl? It's deliberately smaller than our American plates. Fill half with vegetables. That's non-negotiable. 1/4 with lean protein like fish or tofu. And just 1/4 with whole grains. This visual guide works because after 50, our stomach actually shrinks slightly. But our plates haven't. Last winter, my neighbor Robert, maybe you know him from community center, was struggling with afternoon fatigue that left him napping in his recliner
こち
every
らの大
day.
きい方が
He'd
銚子
eat
で
what
で
he
きた
called
人は
a sensible
小
dinner,
さい方はガラス
yet
製の素で
always
すね。
felt
用途
sluggish.
に合わせ使い
When
分
I
けてます
showed
ね。
him this
The
80%
seasons
method,
change, but
he
the
was
heart of the
skeptical.
village remains
I'm
the
72
same.
years old,
We
he
must
told
learn
me.
to appreciate
I should
the
know
small
when I'm full
things.
by now. But here's what he discovered. I simply put his fork down halfway through his meal, taking 3 deep breaths, and asking himself, am I still truly hungry or just eating because it's there? He found he was actually satisfied with half his usual portion. Within 3 weeks, his afternoon naps disappeared. He joined the walking group at the park. Last month, he told me with tears in his eyes that he finally has energy to play with his granddaughter again. This isn't about restriction. It's about reconnection. Reconnecting with your body's wisdom that modern life has drowned out with oversized portions and distracted eating. Your body knows exactly what it needs, if we just slow down enough to listen. And speaking of listening to our bodies, after 50, what we put on our plates matters just as much as how much we put there. Because here's something Japanese centenarians understand that most American nutrition guides miss completely. It's not just about proteins and carbs. Real magic happens in how we balance them specifically for aging bodies. In the next section, I'll show you the exact protein-to-carb ratio that helped 86-year-old Hiroshi rebuild his muscle strength after his hip surgery without expensive supplements or exhausting workouts. You might be surprised to learn that the perfect balance looks nothing like what fitness magazines have been telling us. But first, let me show you how to create your own 80% plate using just 3 items you probably already have in your kitchen. You know what misses. Shimizu, the 89-year-old gardener I told you about, told me when I first met her, she looked at me with those wise eyes and said, "Your body after 50 isn't broken. It's just speaking a different language now. And if you don't learn to listen, it will keep shouting through fatigue and aches." I didn't understand what she meant until I learned about something called sarcopenia. Sarcopenia, that's a scientific name for what we casually call losing muscle as we age. But here's what they don't tell you on morning TV. After 50, we lose 3 to 5% of our muscle mass every single year. That's like watching your car slowly lose engine power while you're still trying to drive uphill. By 70, that's nearly half your strength gone. Not because you're getting old, but because nobody taught you that your protein needs actually increase as you age. Picks up a small bowl of rice and a plate with grilled salmon. This is where Japanese wisdom and modern science finally shake hands. Traditional Japanese nutrition recommends 15 to 25% of calories from protein. Standard American guidelines say about the same. But here's the secret that changed everything for me. After 50, we actually need 25% more protein than when we were young, not to build bulky muscles, but simply to maintain what we already have. Let me show you what this looks like in real life. My friend David, you might have seen him leading the morning Tai Chi group at the community center. He was struggling with stairs at 68. His doctor said, "It's just aging." But when we adjusted his plate using what I call the golden ratio for golden years, everything changed. For someone in their 30s, the perfect plate might be 60% carbohydrates like rice and fruits, 20% protein, and 20% healthy fats. Simple, right? But after 50, our bodies need a different equation. What Japanese longevity experts call second life ratio. 50% carbohydrates, still important for energy, but focusing on complex carbs like sweet potatoes and brown rice. 30% protein, notice that increase, and 20% healthy fats. David's breakthrough came when he stopped counting calories and started counting amino acids, the building blocks of muscle. Instead of one large chicken breast at dinner, we spread his protein throughout the day. A small serving of Greek yogurt at breakfast, edamame with lunch, and salmon at dinner. Within 3 months, he wasn't just climbing stairs again. He was gardening with his grandchildren. Here's the beautiful truth nobody tells us about aging. Your body isn't asking for less nourishment. It's asking for different nourishment. That plate of pasta that satisfied you at 35 might leave you hungry at 65. Not because your appetite changed, but because your cells are literally screaming for different building materials. Let me give you the exact formula I use for my clients over 50. For a moderately active 65-year-old woman, imagine your dinner plate divided into sections. 1/4 filled with quality protein about the size of your palm, salmon, tofu, or chicken. Another 1/4 with complex carbohydrates like brown rice or sweet potato. Notice it's smaller than the protein section now. And the remaining half? Colorful vegetables, especially leafy greens, and see vegetables like wakame if you can find them. This isn't some impossible standard. Last Tuesday, I watched Margaret. She's 73 and lives alone since her husband
Welcome
passed.
to our market.
Create this
Everything
exact
here
plate
was
using just
picked
5
fresh this
ingredients
morning.
she
Please
keeps in her
enjoy the
freezer and
vegetables from our
pantry.
farm.
A salmon burger patty, frozen. Pre-cut broccoli, frozen. Instant miso soup with tofu cubes and microwave brown rice. Total time, 7 minutes. Total transformation. She now has energy to volunteer at the library twice a week. The lesson I learned from Japan's centenarians isn't about eating less. It's about eating smarter. Your body after 50 is like a classic car that needs premium fuel to keep running beautifully. The good news? You don't need exotic ingredients or hours in the kitchen to make this work. Just this one adjustment. Prioritizing protein while reducing refined carbs can be the difference between spending your golden years in a recliner or hiking with your grandchildren. And speaking of making every meal count, there's a beautiful Japanese principle called Ichiju Sansai that transforms not just what we eat, but how we experience food at this stage of life. It's not just about nutrition. It's about creating meals that heal your spirit while nourishing your body. Next, I'll show you how Mrs. Nakamura at 92 still prepares this simple but powerful meal structure every single day, even with arthritis in her hands. And I'll share exactly how to create your own version using just the ingredients you already keep in your kitchen. But first, let me show you the exact portion sizes that work for most Americans over 50. No measuring cups required. All you need is your hand. The first time I witnessed a true Japanese grandmother prepare a meal, I thought she was performing magic. Mrs. Yamada, 84 years young with hands that move like water,
maintaining your energy levels as
didn't
you
just cook
age
food.
is crucial.
She created harmony
from the
on a
food you
plate.
eat and the
And that
nature
harmony
around
has a
you.
name. Ichiju Sansai. 1 soup, 3 sides, rice. Simple words for what I've discovered is perhaps the most powerful anti-aging secret hidden in plain sight. Ichiju Sansai isn't just a meal structure. It's a 1,200-year-old conversation between body and soul. While American plates often feature one large protein dominating everything else, the Japanese meal creates balance, like an orchestra where no instrument drowns out the others. The soup soothes your digestion. The vegetables nourish your cells. The protein repairs what's worn. The rice, just a small portion, ground the entire experience. And here's what fascinated me most. This arrangement isn't arbitrary. It was designed specifically for aging bodies like ours. 6 months ago, my neighbor Harold, maybe you know him from the morning coffee group at the community center, was struggling with afternoon bloating and indigestion. His doctor kept prescribing more medications, but nothing helped. That's when I showed him the Ichiju Sansai method, not as some foreign concept, but as a practical solution for American kitchens. Here's how we adapted it for Harold's life. His traditional American dinner used to be a large steak, mashed potatoes swimming in butter, and maybe some green beans on the side. One dominant flavor. One heavy feeling afterward. Now, his American-style Ichiju Sansai looks like this. A small bowl of vegetable soup on the side. Nothing fancy. Just Campbell's low-sodium tomato soup with extra frozen vegetables added. That's our one soup. Then 3 small sides. A modest portion of grilled chicken breast, about the size of a palm. Steamed broccoli from a frozen section. No shame in that. And a 1/4 cup of brown rice instead of mashed potatoes. And finally, a small bowl of fresh berries for dessert. Within 3 days, Harold texted me at 10 p.m., "I haven't needed my antacids once this week." After 3 weeks, his afternoon naps disappeared. Last month,
Doctor,
he
I feel
joined
much
the
better
walking
now.
group
The
around the
medicine
lake.
is working wonders.
But here's what
That
touched
is
me
wonderful
most.
to hear, Mr.
He
Harold.
told me,
Please keep
for the
taking
first
it
time
as
in
prescribed.
20 years, dinner feels like an event again, not just fuel. The science behind this is beautiful. When you eat multiple small portions of different foods, your digestive system gets a gentle signal. Get ready for various nutrients. No single food overwhelms your aging digestive enzymes. The soup begins a hydration process before your main foods arrive. The vegetables provide fiber that guides everything through your system. The protein comes in moderate amounts your body can actually use. And the rice? Just enough to satisfy without the blood sugar crash that leaves us exhausted by bedtime. You don't need special equipment, just intention. This $3 bento box from Walmart changed everything for my friend Linda after her retirement. Every Sunday, she prepares 3 components: a big batch of vegetable soup, a protein like baked salmon or tofu, and roasted vegetables. Then each weeknight takes just 5 minutes. Fill one section with soup, one with protein, one with vegetables, and a small corner with rice or quinoa. Her words to me last week: "At 72, I finally feel in control of my kitchen again, not the other way around." Here's what I've learned from Japanese elders that no diet book ever told me. How we eat matters as much as what we eat. In America, we've been taught to rush through meals while watching TV or scrolling our phones. But in Japan, even busy office workers practice eating with their eyes first, taking a moment to appreciate colors and arrangement before the first bite. This mindfulness triggers our parasympathetic nervous system, the part that actually allows us to digest and absorb nutrients. When we rush, our body stays in stress mode, and even the most nutritious food becomes a little more than expensive waste. And speaking of making every bite count, this brings me to something even more powerful than meal structure alone. The specific superfoods that Japanese centenarians eat daily. Foods that fight inflammation at the cellular level and actually reverse visible signs of aging. These aren't exotic ingredients only found in Tokyo. They're sitting right now in your local grocery store, waiting to be discovered. Next, I'll show you the exact anti-aging trilogy that misses. Tanaka has eaten every single day since she was 60. She's now 97 with skin that looks decades younger. And I'll share how to combine them with familiar American favorites, so you never feel like you're on a diet. But before we get there, let me show you an even simpler version of a Chiju sansai that takes just 2 minutes to assemble using mostly canned and frozen ingredients.
Local vegetables are
perfect for those days when energy is low, but you still want to honor your body. When I first visited Okinawa at 63, I expected to find secrets hidden in laboratories or expensive clinics. Instead, I found them in grandmothers' kitchens. Women like Mrs. Tanaka, who at 97 still prepares her own meals every morning, showed me something profound. The real anti-aging elixir isn't in a bottle. It's on our plates. And the most powerful combinations happen when ancient wisdom meets modern science. You see, after 50, our bodies face a silent battle we rarely discuss: chronic inflammation. It's the invisible thief stealing our energy, our joint mobility, even our mental clarity. But here's what Japanese centenarians have known for centuries. Certain foods don't just nourish us, they actually communicate with our cells to calm this fire within. Let me show you the 3 powerful combinations I call the longevity duets. Pairs of foods that work together like perfect dance partners. The first is what I call the ocean and earth duo. Fatty fish like salmon paired with dark leafy greens. The omega-3s in fish calm inflammation, while the vitamin K in greens directs that healing specifically to your bones and arteries. My friend Richard from Seattle tried this after his doctor warned him about prediabetes. Instead of expensive supplements, he simply added salmon twice weekly and a daily green smoothie with spinach. 6 months later, his inflammation markers dropped by 42%. His words to me: "I haven't felt this clear-headed since before my 60th birthday." The second duet is the fermented and mineral duo miso and seaweed. Now, I know what you're thinking. I don't live near a Japanese market. But here's the beautiful truth. Miso paste is now in every Whole Foods, and nori sheets are right next to the crackers in Walmart. This combination works like magic for our aging digestive systems. The probiotics in miso rebuild our gut bacteria, while the minerals in seaweed, especially iodine and magnesium, help our thyroid function optimally. My neighbor Susan, 71, suffered from constant bloating and fatigue. Her doctor kept suggesting medications. Instead, she started with just 1 cup of miso soup with a strip of nori every morning. Within weeks, her digestion improved. Within months, her afternoon energy returned. "It's like someone turned the lights back on inside me," she told me last month. And the third duet, my personal favorite, is the berry and tea duo. Berries from our American farms paired with Japanese green tea. The anthocyanins in berries protect our brain cells, while the EGCG in green tea activates our body's natural detoxification systems. This isn't just theory. Harvard researchers followed 12,000 adults over 60 for 5 years. Those who consumed this combination regularly had 37% better cognitive scores and 28% fewer joint pain days than those who didn't. I'll never forget watching Mrs. Tanaka prepare her morning meal. Her hands, wrinkled with age, moved with such tenderness. In Japan, she told me through her granddaughter's translation, we don't separate food from medicine. Every bite is either healing us or harming us. There is no neutral. That wisdom changed how I view my own kitchen. Not just a place to feed hunger, but a healing sanctuary where I choose my medicine daily. For those who can't eat seafood, perhaps due to allergies or mercury concerns, the good news is we can create powerful plant-based alternatives. The Western adaptation, that works beautifully. Walnuts and flax seeds instead of fish for omega-3s, tempeh instead of miso for probiotics, and blueberries with matcha powder instead of green tea leaves. My brother-in-law James, who's had seafood allergies his whole life, reverses arthritis symptoms at 68 using this exact approach. His rheumatologist was stunned. "What are you doing differently?" she asked. His answer, "I stopped fighting my body and started feeding it wisdom." The profound lesson I've learned from combining these traditions isn't about finding the perfect superfood. It's about creating the perfect relationship between foods. No single ingredient is magical, but when we pair them intentionally, respecting both Eastern wisdom and Western science, something remarkable happens. Our cells remember how to heal themselves.
This sake is wonderful.
And this brings me to something even more personal.
It truly is.
How we
Long
actually
life
bring
and
these
good
healing
friends.
foods into our
Goodbye.
lives when energy is low and time is precious. Because let's be honest, what good is the perfect nutrition plan if we're too tired to prepare it? Next, I'll share the exact meal preparation system that changed everything for me after my hip surgery at 65. It's not about fancy equipment or hours in the kitchen. It's about working smarter with our aging bodies, not against them. I'll show you how Mrs. Yamamoto at 88 still prepares nourishing meals for herself despite arthritis in both hands, using a simple method that takes just 45 minutes each Sunday. But first, let me show you the 3-ingredient anti-inflammatory soup that became my lifeline during recovery, and how to make it under 10 minutes using mostly canned and frozen ingredients. You know what Mrs. Tanaka told me during my first week in Okinawa? In Japan, we don't cook to eat, we eat to live. At first, I thought it was just a beautiful phrase, but then I watched how she moved through her tiny kitchen at 97. Every Sunday morning, rain or shine, she'd prepare 3 simple components that would nourish her all week. Not because she had to, but because she understood something we've forgotten in America. When energy becomes precious with age, preparation becomes an act of self-love. Last winter, after my hip surgery at 65, I found myself standing in my kitchen at 7 p.m., exhausted, staring into an empty refrigerator. That's when my daughter sent me a photo of Mrs. Tanaka's Sunday ritual. And that's when everything changed. I discovered what I now call the Sunday sanctuary. Just 45 minutes of gentle preparation that creates peace for the entire week. Let me show you exactly how it works. My neighbor Eleanor, you might know her from the book club at the library, was struggling after her husband passed. At 73, cooking for one felt overwhelming. She'd skip meals or grab processed frozen dinners. Her energy plummeted. Her doctor worried about her nutrition. Then we tried this simple system together. Every Sunday afternoon, Eleanor now prepares what I call the Trinity of Nourishment. 1 protein, 1 grain, and 1 abundance of vegetables. For example, she roasts a whole salmon fillet, just olive oil, lemon, and herbs, until it's perfectly tender. That single piece of salmon becomes Monday's dinner, Tuesday's lunch salad, and Wednesday's grain bowl. 1 cooking session, 3 delicious healing meals. Here's the secret nobody tells you about meal prep after 50. It's not about spending hours marinating or complicated recipes. It's about working with your body's natural rhythms.
May be long,
Your joints
but your
ache
heart
less
is
in the morning.
strong.
Your energy
Go
is higher
forward
before
without
lunch.
fear.
So we cook when we have energy to create meals for when we don't. Eleanor's Sunday Sanctuary now includes a big pot of miso soup base, frozen in individual jars, a tray of colorful roasted vegetables, carrots, broccoli, sweet potatoes, one general protein, salmon, tofu, or chicken, a small pot of brown rice, or quinoa. Total time, 45 minutes. Total transformation, she now has energy for her Tuesday bridge club and Thursday gardening group. I'll never forget watching Eleanor prepare her first Sunday sanctuary. Tears rolled down her cheeks as she carefully portioned the salmon. After 50 years of cooking for others, she whispered, I finally feel like I'm cooking for myself. That's when I realized meal prep isn't just about food. It's about reclaiming your time, your energy, and your joy in the second half of life. And about those vegetables, here's what Japanese grandmothers taught me about preserving nutrients. Blanch broccoli and carrots for just 2 minutes before freezing. This simple step locks in vitamins and enzymes that would otherwise fade. My friend Robert, who lives alone at 79, now keeps nutrient bombs in his freezer. Pre-portioned bags of blanched vegetables ready to transform any meal from ordinary to extraordinary in just 5 minutes. The profound lesson from my journey isn't about perfect containers or precise timing. It's about respecting your energy. After 50, our bodies don't bounce back like they used to. Pushing through fatigue leads to burnout, not nourishment. True wisdom lies in preparing when you have strength for the days when you have less. As Mrs. Tanaka would say, the hands that prepare today feed the soul that rests tomorrow. And this brings me to something even more personal. How we adapt these nourishing meals when our
Look
bodies
at
send us
this
signals we can no longer
magnificent
ignore. Because let's be honest,
It's the biggest one yet.
after 50,
we'll have enough for everyone.
many of us are managing not just hunger, but health challenges that make eating feel complicated. Next, I'll share how my friend Harold reverses prediabetes and high blood pressure, not with medications, but with 3 simple plate adjustments that his doctor called remarkable. I'll show you exactly how to modify these meal prep principles for common conditions like diabetes, hypertension, and arthritis without feeling deprived or overwhelmed. But first, let me show you the exact freezing method that keeps Eleanor's salmon moist and flavorful for 3 full days. And the simple spice blend that makes leftover meals taste like brand new creations. You know, when I first met DR, Yamamoto in Kyoto, he said something that changed everything I thought I knew about health after 50. In Japan, he told me while pouring green tea, we don't treat diseases, we nourish bodies. At the time, I didn't understand what he meant. But after watching how diet transformed my friend Eleanor's life, I finally grasped his wisdom. Just 18 months ago, Eleanor sat exactly where I'm sitting now. Her hands trembled slightly as she showed me her medication list. 7 different pills for her blood pressure, prediabetes, and the arthritis that kept her from gardening, her greatest joy. Her doctor had said, this is just what happens when you get older. But Eleanor refused to accept that. Let me show you exactly what changed for her, starting with blood sugar. When we tested her plate using what I call the rainbow rule, we discovered something alarming. Her meals were missing colors, predominantly beige, white bread, mashed potatoes, pasta. No wonder her blood sugar spiked and crashed daily. Japanese medicine has known for centuries that colorful plates create balanced blood. Specifically, the deep blues and purples and berries contain anthocyanins that increase insulin sensitivity by up to 30%. Eleanor started adding just 1 handful of frozen blueberries to her morning oatmeal. Within 3 weeks, her fasting glucose dropped from 118 to 96. For her blood pressure, 162 over 94 when we began. The solution came from the ocean, not in a pill bottle, but in this simple bowl. The potassium in seaweed naturally balances sodium in our systems. And fermented miso,
まあね、この
it's
エビ
not
は
the
本当
enemy
に美
we've
味しい
been
です
told
ね。
it is.
幸せです
A
ね。
10-year study from
少量
Kyoto
でもね、こ
University
の味
followed
付けは格別
5,000
ですね。
adults over 60 and found those who consumed properly fermented miso daily had 25% lower rates of hypertension than those who avoided it completely. Eleanor started with just a quarter cup each morning, using low-sodium miso paste and extra wakame seaweed. No other changes. By her next doctor visit, her pressure had dropped to 138 over 84. Her cardiologist actually asked what medication she'd started, but it was her arthritis that seemed most stubborn, the pain in her hands that made buttoning shirts an impossible task. Here's where Japanese wisdom and Western science merge beautifully. Omega-3s from fatty fish like salmon reduce inflammatory markers, like CRP by up to 35% in just 8 weeks. But the Japanese secret? Pairing them with vitamin K-rich greens like spinach and kale, which directs an anti-inflammatory power specifically to our joints. Eleanor committed to what we called the Tuesday through Saturday plan. Salmon on Tuesday, Saturday, and 3 generous
This
servings of
recipe has
leafy
been in
greens
my
daily.
family for over
By
100
spring,
years.
she was
My
back in her
grandmother
garden
taught me when
planting
I was just a
tulips
small girl.
with her own hands. I'll never forget the day Eleanor called me, her voice trembling not from pain, but joy. I just cooked dinner without taking a pain pill first, she whispered. That's when I understood DR. Yamamoto's wisdom. We weren't just changing what was on her plate. We were restoring her dignity. The profound lesson from Eleanor's journey
We are really
isn't about
moving today, aren't we?
superfoods or strict diets.
Yes, the
It's
air
about
is
this.
wonderful.
Our bodies after
Don't fall
50 aren't
behind,
broken
Robert.
machines needing more medication. They're wise ecosystems sending signals we've learned to ignore. High blood sugar isn't just a number. It's your cells screaming for color. High blood pressure is inevitable. It's your arteries begging for balance. Joint pain isn't just aging. It's inflammation asking for peace. And about those medications Eleanor was taking, her doctor
Look at
didn't
this
take them
color.
away overnight.
Fresh from the
But
garden this
slowly,
morning.
as her numbers improved, they reduced them carefully, responsibly. That's crucial. Always work with your healthcare provider. Food is powerful medicine, but it works alongside, not against good medical care. But here's what nobody told Eleanor or any of us that makes all this possible. Our aging bodies have unique challenges that can sabotage even the most perfect nutrition plan. The dry mouth that makes swallowing painful. The sensitive teeth that make raw
こちらの
vegetables
大きい方
impossible.
が長寿で
The
できた
changing
ジュ
sense
エ
of
リー
taste
小さ
that
い
makes
方はガラ
healthy
ス製の
food
素
seem
ですね
bland.
用途に合わせ
Next,
使い分けま
I'll
す
share
ね
how
The
Mrs.
seasons change,
Tanaka at
but the heart of
97
the
has
village
adapted her
remains the
traditional
same.
Japanese meals
We must
for her
learn to
own
appreciate
changing
the small
body
things.
and how you can transform any recipe to honor your current physical reality, not some idealized version of health. But first, let me show you Eleanor's exact 3-day meal plan that worked with her medications, not against them, including precise timing that made all the difference. You know what Mrs. Tanaka whispered to me on my very first visit to her home in Okinawa? At 97, with hands delicate as bird wings, she pointed to her mouth and said something that changed how I view aging forever. My teeth left me at 85, but my joy of eating never did. I didn't understand what she meant until I watched her carefully prepare her dinner that evening, transforming tough ingredients into tender nourishment without losing an ounce of flavor or dignity. After 50, our bodies send us signals we can't ignore anymore. The dry mouth that makes swallowing feel like sandpaper. The sensitive teeth that turn a simple apple into an impossible challenge. The fading sense of smell that makes even our favorite foods taste like cardboard. I remember my own moment of surrender, standing in my kitchen after dental surgery, tears welling as I looked at the beautiful salmon I bought, knowing I couldn't chew it. That's when I called Eleanor, who'd been through this years before me, and she simply said, "Darling, it's not about what you can't eat anymore. It's about discovering what your body can still celebrate. Let me show you what Japanese elders have perfected over centuries. The art of soft strength. This isn't baby food disguised as adult meals. This is wisdom in edible form. Take this simple miso soup with silken tofu and finely shredded carrots. The same nutrients as a crunchy salad, but designed for aging mouths." Eleanor's dentist was shocked when her bone density improved after switching to these gentle preparations. "But you're not chewing hard foods to stimulate your jaw," he said. Her reply, "I'm getting more nutrients because I can actually eat what's on my plate." And about that fading sense of taste we all fear after 60, here's where Japanese umami science saves the day. When our taste buds diminish, which research shows happens by up to 50% after 70, we don't need more salt or sugar. We need deeper flavors. Watch this. A simple dashi broth made with dried shiitake mushrooms and a strip of kombu seaweed. No salt added. Just pure, deep savoriness that wakes up tired taste buds. My friend Harold, who lost a sense of smell after a stroke at 68, told me this was the first food he could truly taste in months. It wasn't just flavor, he said, wiping his eyes. It was my life coming back to me. The real secret nobody talks about? Texture matters more than taste when we age. Dr. Yamamoto taught me this over tea one rainy afternoon. Americans eat with their mouths. Japanese eat with their eyes first, then their hearts. For those with dental challenges, visual beauty creates satisfaction before the first bite even touches the tongue. This colorful kanji, rice porridge, with salmon flakes and bright orange sweet potato, isn't just easy to swallow. It's a feast to the soul. Last winter, I sat with Mrs. Tanaka as she prepared her evening meal with arthritic hands that could barely hold chopsticks. She used pre-cut vegetables, a rice cooker with large buttons, and pre-made dashi powder to save her energy. Nothing fancy, nothing perfect. But when she closed her eyes to savor the first spoonful of miso soup, her face glowed with pure contentment. That's when I understood nourishment after 50 isn't about the strength of our teeth. It's about the depth of our joy. The profound lesson from Japan's elders isn't about fighting aging. It's about dancing with it. Every limitation is an invitation to discover new flavors, new textures, new ways of honoring our bodies exactly as they are today. As Mrs. Tanaka would say, the wisest tree doesn't fight the wind. It learns to bend and still bear fruit. And this beautiful dance between our bodies and our food naturally leads us to something even more powerful. The connection between what's on our plates and what our muscles remember. Because after 50, nourishment isn't just about what we eat. It's about how we move that food through our bodies. Next, I'll share the simple movement ritual that Mrs. Yamamoto does before every meal that increases her digestion by 40% according to her doctor. And I'll show you exactly how to pair specific foods with gentle movements to rebuild strength after 60, without expensive equipment or exhausting workouts. But first, let me show you Eleanor's exact recipe for that magical miso soup. The one that helped her regain her sense of taste after chemotherapy, and how to make it in just 7 minutes with ingredients from any American grocery store. You know what Japanese grandmothers have known for centuries, that Western science
Welcome
is
to our
only
market.
now confirming.
Everything here was
Movement
picked fresh
and
this
food
morning.
aren't separate
Please
chapters in
enjoy
our
the
health story.
vegetables from our
They're the
farm.
same sentence. Mrs. Tanaka showed me this on my very first morning in her home. At 97, before she ate a single bite of breakfast, she spent exactly 7 minutes moving her body through gentle motions she called morning whispers to the joints. I thought it was just tradition, but what I discovered changed everything for my own recovery after hip surgery. After 50, our muscles become like old friends. They need more attention, more patience, and the right kind of nourishment at exactly the right moment. Here's the beautiful truth nobody told us. Protein timing matters more than protein quantity. A fascinating study from the University of Tokyo followed adults over 60 who did gentle resistance training 3 times weekly. One group drank their protein shake immediately after exercise, the other before bed. After 6 months, the post-workout group had rebuilt 42% more muscle mass than the bedtime group. Their secret? What scientists call the anabolic window, that precious 30-minute period after movement, when our aging muscles are most receptive to rebuilding. Let me show you Eleanor's exact routine. She's 74 with arthritis in both knees. Every morning at 10 a.m., just when her medication peaks, she does what I call the 15-minute rejuvenation. 3 minutes of seated leg lifts while sipping green tea. 5 minutes of gentle arm circles while breathing deeply. 7 minutes of seated Tai Chi movements. I'll share the exact routine in the description box. The magic happens in pairing. Immediately after
Maintaining
these
your
movements,
energy levels
Eleanor
as you
enjoys
age
what
is
she
crucial.
calls her bone broth
It comes
breakfast.
from the food you eat
A warm
and the
bowl of
nature
miso
around you.
soup with silken tofu and finely chopped greens. The protein arrives exactly when her muscles are primed to receive it. The calcium and vitamin K2 from the greens work together like perfect dance partners to strengthen her bones. Within 3 months of this simple daily ritual, her bone density increased by 4%, something her doctor called medically remarkable for someone her age. And for those with knee pain like my friend Robert, here's the Japanese wisdom that saves his mobility. Movement before meals, not after. Our digestive system and muscular system compete for the same blood supply. When we move on a full stomach, neither system gets what it needs. But that gentle 10-minute walk before dinner, it primes our digestive enzymes while strengthening our legs. Robert used to need a cane after dinner. Now at 78, he walks his dog every evening after this simple pre-meal ritual. The profound lesson from Japan's elders isn't about perfect form or intense workouts. It's about consistency meeting compassion. Your body after 50 doesn't need punishment. It needs partnership. Movement isn't about burning calories. It's about reminding your cells they're still alive. Food isn't just fuel. It's the building material for what movement awakens. And this beautiful partnership between body and nourishment naturally leads us to something even more profound. The connection between our plate and our peace of mind. Because after 50, how we eat matters just as much as what we eat. Next, I'll share the simple gratitude ritual that misses. Tanaka performs before every meal that her doctor says contributes more to her longevity than any supplement. And I'll show you exactly how to transform your dinner table into a sanctuary of connection, even if you're eating alone. Because loneliness after 60 is more dangerous to our health than smoking or obesity. But first, let me show you Eleanor's exact pre-breakfast movement sequence. The one that eliminated her morning stiffness completely, and the perfect protein-rich breakfast to follow it, using just 3 ingredients from
Doctor,
any
I feel
American
much better
grocery
now.
store.
The medicine is working
You know what
wonders.
misses.
That is wonderful
Tanaka
to hear,
said
Mr.
to me on
Please
my
keep
last
taking it as
evening in
prescribed.
Okinawa, at 97, with eyes that held centuries of wisdom, she placed her wrinkled hands over mine and whispered, "The loneliest sound in the world isn't an empty house. It's the clinking of a single fork on an empty plate." I didn't understand the depth of those words until I returned home and saw my neighbor Harold eating alone night after night. His television, the only conversation at his dinner table. Science now confirms what Japanese elders have always known. Eating alone after 60 is more dangerous to our health than smoking. A Harvard study followed 10,000 adults over 65 for 8 years. Those who ate alone most days had a 43% higher risk of depression, 38% higher risk of malnutrition, and surprisingly, even when eating healthy foods, they gained more weight than those who shared meals. Why? Because when we eat in isolation, we either forget to eat altogether or we eat mindlessly, scrolling through our phones while our bodies lose connection with the nourishment they need. That's why I want to show you what I call the gratitude pause. A practice misses. Tanaka performs before every meal that her doctor credits as much as her diet for her remarkable longevity. Watch how she does it. Hands pressed gently together, eyes closed for just 10 seconds, whispering "Iridakamasu," a Japanese phrase that means "I humbly receive this life." It's not religious. It's neurological. Research shows this simple ritual activates our parasympathetic nervous system, the part that actually allows us to digest and absorb nutrients. When I taught this to Harold after his wife passed, he told me something that broke my heart. "I haven't thanked my food in 20 years. No wonder nothing satisfies me."
You really mean it.
What if you
You're
live
coming
alone
home
like
after
so
all
many
this
of us do
time.
now?
I can't
Here's the
believe
beautiful
it. I'm so
adaptation
happy.
Eleanor created. She calls it her community plate. Every Sunday, she sets her table for 4. One place for herself, one for a memory of her late husband, one for a grandchild who calls on weekends, and one for whoever needs this meal more than I do today. This isn't superstition, it's psychology. Our brains respond to the visual cue of community even when others aren't physically present. Within weeks of this practice, Eleanor found herself preparing more colorful, balanced meals. "When I set 4 places," she told me, "I remember I'm not just feeding my body, I'm honoring my life." I'll never forget watching Mr. Yamada, 83, prepare his tiny
Maintaining a healthy
apartment for his
diet is
weekly dinner
crucial
club.
as we age.
Just 3 other widowers from
Fresh,
his
local
building,
vegetables are
meeting
best.
every Thursday. No fancy cooking, just simple miso soup and rice. But the laughter that echoed through those thin walls, that was medicine no pharmacy could provide. His doctor told me privately that Mr. Yamada's blood pressure normalized and his diabetes markers improved more dramatically after starting this ritual than from any medication change. The profound lesson from Japan's elders isn't about perfect nutrition. It's about perfect presence. Food is never just food after 50. It's connection. It's memory. It's love made visible. When we rush through meals alone in front of screens, we're not just missing nutrients. We're missing the very essence of what makes life worth nourishing. As Mrs. Tanaka would say, a meal shared with gratitude becomes medicine. A meal eaten in loneliness becomes merely calories. And this beautiful practice of mindful eating naturally leads us to something practical yet profound. How to know when our efforts are actually working. Because after 50, our bodies speak a different language. The scale doesn't tell the whole story. Next, I'll show you the 3 simple
It is
measurements
always so
misses.
peaceful here.
Tanaka
with the view of the
uses at
bamboo.
97 to track her true health.
Calm.
Not
Your
weight,
teeth
not
are very
calories,
healthy.
but signs of vitality that matter most in our golden years. And I'll share Eleanor's exact 6-month progress journal that her doctor called more valuable than any blood test. But first, let me show you how to create your own gratitude pause. Even if you've never practiced mindfulness before, start with just 3 words you can say before your very next meal. You know what misses. Tanaka's doctor told me during my last visit to Okinawa, at 97, her medical chart is thinner than most teenagers' phones. When I asked her secret, she didn't mention superfoods or special exercises. Instead, she opened this simple notebook, filled not with calorie counts, but with observations. The body speaks in whispers before it shouts in pain, she wrote in careful handwriting. I learned to listen before I had to scream. After 50, we've been taught to fear the scale, to let one number define our worth. But Japanese elders have a different wisdom. They track what truly matters, their energy at 3 p.m., the quality of their sleep, the ease of climbing stairs. Mrs. Tanaka's journal is just 3 daily questions. Did I wake without stiffness? Could I carry my groceries without resting? Did I laugh today? Simple, human, revolutionary. Let me show you what changed everything for Eleanor after her hip surgery. Instead of downloading another complicated app that required her arthritic fingers to type endlessly, we created what I call the Rainbow Tracker. 3 colored pens, one for energy, red, one for digestion, green, one for joy, yellow. Each evening before bed, she simply draws a line on her calendar. High for good days, low for challenging ones. No numbers, no judgment, just patterns. After 3 months, we saw something beautiful. Her green line's digestion rose highest on days she practiced her gratitude pause. Her red line's energy peaked after her morning movement ritual. This simple visual revealed what no blood test ever could, how her daily choices truly affected her life. And Harold? His transformation wasn't captured on a scale. It was in his handwriting. For years, his doctor notes mentioned patient struggles with medication compliance. But after he started tracking just 2 things, his morning stiffness and afternoon clarity, he discovered that miso soup before bed improves morning mobility by 40%. Within weeks, he was taking his medications consistently because he finally understood why they mattered. Last month, his doctor wrote, "Patient shows remarkable improvement in all markers, most notably quality of life. I'll never forget the day, Mrs. Tanaka showed me her seasonal adjustments. In spring, she adds more leafy greens as her body craves cleansing after winter. In summer, she eats lighter meals earlier in the day to honor the heat. In autumn, she increases root vegetables for grounding. In winter, she adds more warming spices and soups. My body isn't broken when my needs change," she told me. "It's wise. My job is to follow its lead, not force it to follow mine."
It truly
The profound lesson from
Long life
Japan's
and good
centenarians
friends.
isn't about
Bye-bye.
perfect tracking. It's about compassionate listening. Our bodies, after 50 aren't machines, requiring rigid programming. They're wise companions on a journey, sending signals we've forgotten to read. True nourishment isn't found in generic guidelines. It's discovered in the quiet moments when we pause to ask, what do I truly need today? This is where your journey truly begins, not with dramatic changes, but with gentle curiosity. Start tonight with just one question in a notebook you already own. What did my body thank me for today? The answer might surprise you. Maybe it was an extra glass of water, a walk around the block, the moment you put your fork down at 80% full. These small acknowledgments build the wisdom that carries us gracefully into our next decade. 3 years ago, standing in the same spot after my hip surgery, I never imagined I'd be gardening again at 68. But by following these whispers, tracking not just what I ate, but how I felt afterward, I learned to move with my body instead of against it. Last week, I harvested tomatoes from this very garden with hands that no longer shake. That's the real victory no scale can measure. And as we close our time together today, I want to leave you with more than information. I want to give you an invitation to join our growing community of vibrant agers who are rewriting what it means to grow older with grace and strength. Next week, I'll be sharing something deeply personal, my complete seasonal adjustment calendar that misses. Tanaka helped me create, with exact foods to add and remove each month based on your body's natural rhythms. This isn't just about nutrition. It's about living in harmony with nature's cycles, even in our concrete American neighborhoods. But before we say goodbye, I have a small gift for you. A printable version of Eleanor's Rainbow Tracker and Mrs. Tanaka's 3 daily questions. You'll find the link in the description box below. No email required. No complicated setup. Just a simple piece of paper that might just change how you see your own journey. Remember this truth as you move through your week. You are not fighting your age. You are dancing with it. Every meal is an opportunity. Every breath is a chance to listen. Every morning is a new page in your story. The Japanese have a saying, Ichigo Ichi. This moment exists only once. Your body at this age is not a problem to fix. It's a wisdom and honor. I'm so proud of you for taking these first steps. I can't wait to hear your stories in the comments about your first gratitude pause, your rainbow tracker lines, or the moment you discovered joy in a meal
The road
again.
ahead
Until
may
next
be
time,
long,
remember,
but your heart is
you don't need to
strong.
live longer to live
Go
fully.
forward without
You
fear.
just need to start today, exactly where you are. Your friend on this journey, always